Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. I'm Megan.
And I'm Sierra. It feels like it's been forever since we've actually talked to you guys, just because we had a backlog of videos, and so I feel like we've had videos pre-recorded and then just have been uploading them. But I feel like it's been a while since we actually got in front of the camera and just chatted.
And we wanted to do a Q&A just to get back in the swing of things, because right now our lives are so bland. There's not much that would even be interesting to vlog, because since getting back from Hawaii and kind of our job search has kind of toned down a little bit. And even when we got back from Hawaii and we're doing that, we aren't doing much except for just sitting at home. So we thought it'd be fun to do a Q&A, kind of catch up with you guys, see if you had questions that were relevant, and just talk about where we're at.
Alright, so someone said, as a new grad PT, what are some must-have things that you're looking for in a job? So I think this is interesting because I feel like when you're entering the workforce, sometimes you're just trying to you feel like you should just be reaching for scraps and I'll take anything.
It feels like you feel pressured into being okay, I should be applying to jobs to make sure I get a job in a quick enough time frame, but you also kind of want to be a little bit selective with what ones are you applying to. If one doesn't seem like a great fit, if you have to wait a little bit longer, maybe it's worth doing so.
So some must-have things for me. I've been really trying to keep an eye on the sort of schedule that whatever job I'm applying to are offering. Specifically, there's an outpatient clinic that just had not crazy hours, but just having to work later than I would ideally want to, more frequently than I would want to, and that's just not something I'm looking for if I'm trying to stay at a place for a longer period of time.
I would also agree, definitely kind of regular hours that are as close as possible to the typical Monday through Friday 8 to 5 time frame. Just because I like regularity and being able to have that going on. I also felt I wanted to, the company that I ended up getting an offer from and I'm going to be working with, they had their retention rate for employees on their website, and it was a really good percentage, and so that was something that, at least to me, I thought was important, because then it lets me know that employees like working there and they want to stay there, and there's low turnover, so that seemed like a supportive environment for me.
Something else that I was keeping in mind, it depends on the different settings that you're looking at. Expected productivity rates for different companies. If you're working outpatient, productivity is expected to be 100%. But I was looking at some different skilled or inpatient settings, and so productivity is not expected to be 100%, given they have to do other tasks as well. And so I was just keeping an eye on what their productivity standards were to make sure it kind of matched up with where I thought it should be. And then paying attention to what they're offering you as a new grad. I feel like it's important if you're in PT school, hopefully your programs provide you as a new grad some resource, whether it's past students, giving you examples of what their starting salary was, just having an idea, since no one talks about it, of what you can expect in a given area in a given setting. So having that in mind and not letting yourself go too far below what you want.
Alright, so the next question is, what type of PT setting do you want to work in? I'll go ahead and answer first. So I will be starting a full-time position in a couple weeks, I guess just over a week now. And it's going to be at a skilled nursing facility. I might be going around to a couple different locations, but I'll have one primary one that I'm in. That was actually a setting that I did a lot of my observation hours prior to going into grad school for. And coming out and graduating, I felt more drawn to go into some sort of inpatient setting, because I felt like the outpatient setting, at least right now, is going to put me in a burnout mode, because you have to be with patients literally the entire day if you have a full caseload, and you basically always have to be on. People who are on a desk job, they can kind of be at their desk and do their task, but they're not always on. And so even having that little bit of off time, or not necessarily having a set schedule in my day per se, I can kind of go see my patients as works best throughout my day, I thought was intriguing. And so that's kind of what made me want to decide to at least start with this route. So yeah.
So I really like the inpatient rehab setting. I think that I mentioned to you guys that was my favorite clinical rotation. I did get a PRN position in a rehab facility in the Des Moines area, so I'm excited to get more experience in that setting with that job. And then I'm still kind of poking around, since that position is PRN only. That just means it's as needed, so if I'm available, I can say I can work these days, but I don't have a set schedule. And so looking for other potentially PRN or part-time or full-time, still kind of looking for that secondary income that I will probably need. Okay, so someone asked, favorite book that you've read so far this year? I have to pull up my Goodreads. Megan and I are actually doing really well with our 2023 reading goals.
I just looked today and I'm 7 books ahead of schedule. Probably only given 1 5-star, so I guess it has to be that.
For me, it would probably be either Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin or Daisy Jones and the Six by TJR. I gave both those 4 stars. I like them a lot.
I would say my favorite book that I've read so far this year is called Mine Would Be You by Kay Jamila. I read it on Kindle Unlimited. I gave it 5 stars. It was just like a very cute romance where I feel like there was like low drama, great communication. It was basically like these 2 characters like falling in love, and it was like the whole honeymoon phase of their relationship. So I just loved it.
You're just like, love.
Next question is, what was the hardest thing about PT school?
It's always hard to say this stuff when you're out of it because like looking back, I'm like, PT school wasn't that hard.
Yeah. Hindsight.
But I know going into it and obviously like living through it, it was different. So definitely, I mean, for me, it's just thinking back to like when you first start.
That's what I was going to say.
It's just a new thing. It's a lot more work than you are used to probably in undergrad.
I also felt like I remember we had our summer session, and that was kind of like a lot all at once, but like I remember our kinesiology class was like one of our first actual classes, kind of like our first real semester PT school. The first summer didn't really count. And I remember we were talking about arthrokinematics, and if you're in PT school, like you'll understand what that means. And I remember just thinking to myself, I had no idea what we were talking about, and like looking back, I'm like, it really wasn't that hard, but it was just like,
It's
it
a
was
lot of new
new
stuff.
and it seemed like everyone else understood
That's
stuff.
what I was gonna touch
and
on.
I was like, do I not understand what's going on and everyone else does? I was like, how much more do people, like my classmates, know versus what I know? It all ends up being fine. Like everyone's new, everyone comes in with different levels of knowledge, especially depending on like what setting they got the most experience in. So it was just like a lot of comparison, I felt like at first, and kind of like I wasn't sure what I was getting myself into.
I think hardest part for sure is first figuring out time management. For most PT programs, you're in school for pretty much the whole day. At least like we were usually in school from like 8 to like 3 was the average, I would say. And then on top of that, you study a couple hours usually probably every day. And so just getting into the habit and building those early on, because in undergrad we didn't like, I mean we studied a lot in undergrad, but in PT school it felt like you had to just put in 2 or
Right.
3, 4 hours every single day. Not to say we didn't take time off here and there, but just getting into the habit of like to stay on top of all this stuff. You kind of just have to do it, and then like keeping
But
in
then
mind.
also like recognizing sometimes there was like a million things you had to do, so you couldn't necessarily do everything to like the fullest extent you wanted to. You kind of sometimes had to like time block and say, from this time to this time, I'm studying this class, and then like when the time runs out, maybe you just gotta move on.
Just know that it gets easier. Like you learn how to better manage your time. Not necessarily that the classes are getting easier, but you just figure it out a little bit better. Okay, someone asked, now that you're older, what's the best and most difficult thing about being a twin?
We've never really had like super horrible experiences being twins, but I do feel like when we were younger, it was easier to have like that comparison going on, like when we did gymnastics together, when we were like going through school and stuff together. So I would say comparison probably still is like the worst part, although I don't ever think it was like that bad between either of us. I guess another thing too is like sometimes, this is probably what I should say, but sometimes you kind of don't feel like people that you feel close with or connected with like fully know like who you are, I guess, quote unquote, because it just becomes like Megan and Sierra. But like not everyone, like if you're getting to know someone, you kind of don't really know how well they can tell Sierra and I apart, or how much can they distinguish like Sierra's personality versus like my personality. And like for me, I'll be kind of like living my life assuming they fully know who I am versus who Sierra is, but then come to find out sometimes you're like, oh, they kind of didn't really. And then I feel like I just look back on like every past experience where I'm like, well, if they didn't really know, you know, I was Megan in said situation, or I don't know, like it's never been like this huge giant thing.
But it just makes you think. Going off of that, can just think of like, I've tried to be more vocal with like, whether it's texting communication or in-person communication, when sometimes like Megan will say something or I'll say something, and whoever's like responding to us will be like, oh, like, well, you guys, blah, 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 like grouping us together in that sense. And so I've tried
guilty of that.
to be more aware of saying, well, hey, I didn't say that, or like Megan didn't say that, I said that, or like just trying to be more specific and like getting people to realize like, hey,
Like
you
it's
might
this little thing that you're kind of saying just to like get your point across, but it's not necessarily accurate.
Yeah. Like, oh, well, you guys always do X, Y, and Z. And it's like, well, I always do X, Y, and Z, but maybe Megan doesn't, so.
Yeah. Best thing, though, I mean, it sounds cliche, like it's what everyone says, but you have a built-in best friend if you get along, so...
And you never have to, like, worry about... I feel like when some people are best friends, like, there are people who are truly, like, sisters and can, like, get over arguments and stuff super quick and stuff, but there's also people who are best friends where it's, like, I just feel like we never have to worry about anything. You know what I mean?
Like, we can get annoyed at each other, that's fine, but we'll get over it, and...
Like, we know it's not gonna last.
Yeah.
So, that's nice.
Okay, next question. Any recommendations on how to deal with burnout during grad school? I feel like this is like a small thing, but it always helped me having like something to look forward to. It could be small, it could be large. Whether you want to do that on like a daily basis or like weekly is probably like definitely more attainable. Like I know Sierra and I, we always loved going to movies during like our week sometime if we could fit it in or if there was a good movie going on. It was just like a nice little thing to say like I'm looking forward to, just like getting through whatever work I have to do, readings, schoolwork, classes, and or exams, and then going and doing the movie. And hopefully, like, especially if you put it right after, like, a big thing. Like, if you had, like, kind of a bunch of tests crowding the beginning of your week, have something that you can look forward to where you're like, okay, this day, I'm not doing anything.
I think that this is, like, sometimes if I just felt so burnt out, I'd be like, I'm not doing anything today. Like, I just can't do it.
Like, if you didn't have the exam the next day, you know, just let yourself have a break.
Yeah, and you have to be, like, you have to let yourself have that break, because I feel like sometimes there were definitely days where I didn't necessarily plan to have a break, but then I took a break, and then I was like, now I feel guilty because I didn't study. So be mindful of not letting that happen all the time, but like, if you're just so burnt out you can't take it, say, I'm taking the night off, I'll get back to it tomorrow, and things will be fine. Otherwise, like Megan said, just finding like little things to spark joy throughout your day or your week. So if you have like friends that you could at least study with, then that will make studying a little bit more fun. If you like to bake, like get some stuff to make some cookies at the end of a long day, just little things like that.
Or Sierra and I lived by this through grad school, put like a show on with like the teeniest, just one on a volume.
One volume.
And it has to be something that like you're not going to get engrossed in. So preferably like a comfort show that you've seen a million times where it's just there, but it kind of just like makes you feel a little warm and cozy and like you're not just sitting by yourself studying.
Okay, someone asked, any books that you've read that you would love to see made into a movie or TV adaptation? Can we first talk about books that we have read that we know are getting made into different like movie, TV adaptations?
One I'm most excited for is definitely Project Hail Mary.
I'm so excited for that one.
Every single person, Maggie's currently reading it, and I'm so excited because she'll like keep sending us stuff about it as she's like reading through it. We have convinced so many people to read this book, and every single person that has read it has given it 5 stars. Like, it is so
I just got a DM
good.
the other day, someone saying that they read it and they loved it. So, here to help wherever you need.
It's science fiction, but it is so fun. The characters I just love them. And supposedly, there's no set release date. I think it's probably 2024, if we're lucky, hopefully. And supposedly Ryan Gosling's going to be playing the main character. But such a good book.
So great.
Incredible. We've gotten our mom to read it. We've gotten Haley. We've gotten our brother-in-law to read it. We've gotten our cousin to read it, and he just finished it, and it was so good.
Other stuff, Daisy Jones and the Six, they have a series coming out on Prime Video in March, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm hopefully going to get Megan to read that before it comes out. Seven Husbands is supposed to have a Netflix, they say movie, but I think it should be a limited series.
Yeah, hopefully they switch it to a show.
So I'm excited for that one as well. What else would I love to see made into one?
I feel like, as much as I love romance books, I feel like usually like they just aren't done justice in a movie format. Like there's just too much going on, and that becomes like, if it was cringy in the book, it is 10 times cringier in a movie.
Yeah.
So
Beach Read though, I love Beach Read so much. It's my favorite romance ever. I feel like that might translate well. Like they go on like the fun little dates, like it could work. I think Tomorrow, I think that could be a good movie. Dark Matter is like a sci-fi book that we have both read. That could be kind of cool.
Interstellar vibes, maybe.
If it was Interstellar, I would not comprehend it. I've tried to
I hardly comprehended it when I was reading it. Okay. Next question. Do you guys ever get frustrated with dating?
I don't know if frustrated is the right word, at least not recently. My thoughts on dating right now are little to none. There were a couple dating questions. There's quite literally nothing to report on my end.
I would say, again, frustrated isn't the word I would use. I would say if I was going on like consistently going on like first dates and just not having any luck, that's when I would be like getting a little frustrated.
Same.
However, I have been so not intrigued by anyone I've come across that like it doesn't feel worth it necessarily to like go on a date just to go on a first date. So I'm just at a stage right now where it's like, you know, I'm on a dating app and, you know, if something comes of it, fine, but like, I don't know. We're just kind of hanging out.
Yeah. I'd agree. I'd say right now, I mean, I would love for someone to approach me in person. Like, that never happens. But until then, I am on a dating app and I'm just like...
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
See, last I knew she was on.
That's like, nothing's coming.
It's like, you're just kind of on it in the hopes of like, you sometimes see people on TikTok and it's like, they met their boyfriend somehow on a dating app and you're like, how? Like, you found that person on a dating app and then you're kind of like, well, maybe, just maybe.
I'm so, like, specific. We've talked about this before, but I'm so specific with, like, when I'm on a dating app, like, on someone's profile. Like, if I just get, like, the littlest, like, I don't know about this.
Right?
I'm like, nope.
Same. Sometimes I'll even, most of the time, it's like, I'll find something where I'm like, no. And then, but sometimes if I'm like, maybe, just maybe, like, on the fence, I have to, like, do more digging to find, like, some other, like,
profile, I will find them.
Some other profile of theirs
I
to,
will
like,
find them.
to confirm, like, if I'm like, it's gonna push me, like, one way or the other.
Yeah.
And it's usually backing off, and I'm like, no.
Someone asked, and I actually saw a few people asking this, they said, will you keep doing vlog videos after you both find jobs? They're just, like, asking if we would continue posting videos once we got jobs. And I think we've always mentioned, like, we're gonna keep doing YouTube as long as we want to, and I don't really see our content style changing. Someone else, I think, had asked, like, what are you gonna post now that you're done with grad
especially,
school?
like, we did clinicals for the past, you know, not the past 3 months, but, like, the past, like, 8 months before that, we were doing clinicals basically all the time and, like, still posting content, like, pretty much every single week. I think that we'll kind of continue to, like, dive into, you know, we'll kind of own the whole work week in our life thing if that's what we want to do, because that's kind of what we were doing before. We'll still do sit-down videos. I'm sure we'll still do, like, reading-related videos. It's all still probably going to be pretty similar.
Yeah, like, on your guys' end, it will probably not change that much, honestly, so.
We still plan on posting hopefully once a week, like, around the weekend, and yeah. Alright, someone asked favorite places in the Des Moines area. I will say, recently.
Smash Park?
Yeah. We've only gone twice, but I definitely could see us
we've gone to
becoming-
Smash Park more
Well, okay.
than twice.
Yes, but in the past, we've started doing, like, trivia, and there's, like, a bunch of different places around Des Moines that also do trivia nights, but it's been fun. It's just, like, during the weekday to, like, go do something different. I could definitely see us doing that as we, like, get our jobs and just, like, want to have something fun to look forward to after work. So it's just been fun, and, like, since we don't really, like, go out and drink, like, it still allows us to, like, go
It gives,
out
like,
and have
that
something
bar,
to do.
like, restaurant, like, hangout kind of vibe, but, like, you don't have to drink if you don't want to.
Yeah.
Not that you have to drink at a bar, but, like, there's
like,
so much to do at Smash Park that, like, they've got stuff upstairs, they have stuff downstairs, they have pickleball over here, like, arcade games over there, like, there's so much stuff to do.
There's also,
there's a place
Spare
called
Time.
Oh yeah, Spare
It's
Time
fun
is good.
too. That's got, like, arcade area, they've got a restaurant, they've got bowling, escape rooms. So, like, it's just another fun, like, hangout spot. And then
There's a place,
also,
we haven't been to this place, but there's a place called Ricochet downtown that I think is supposed to be like an arcade bar kind of area.
We also
walked by it.
we haven't been
that.
here either, but there's a place called Paws and Pints. Maybe when Sierra gets a dog, we can go check it out. But it's kind of just, like, again, a place where there's a bunch of, like, yard games. It's a bar. It's dog friendly, so people bring their dogs. And yeah, during the summer, Sierra and I really like Sayreville Lake, which, like, growing up in Des Moines, like, obviously been to Sayreville Lake, but, like, it was never my favorite place to go because we always, like, went to Clear Lake, which is where our grandparents' lake house was at. And so, you know, didn't really, like, come to love Sayreville. I honestly feel like I kind of just, like, didn't vibe with it. I was like, this is not
I love
the
the
lake for
Sayreville
me.
Marina.
But,
I
like,
love
the
the marina.
Sayreville Marina and the beach that we started going to, I, like, have such fond, good vibes with it now.
Someone said, any plans to get a dog soon? So, we're getting closer. The more I get into a routine, especially, like, when I hopefully, like, pin down what I'm doing for work.
Honestly, with your PRN position right now, it's maybe not horrible that you have that going on. Obviously, like, you still need solutions for.
I know. It's
others.
mostly figuring out if I'm working full-time and I can't come home for lunch, trying to figure out whether that's doggy daycare, someone coming over that I know, or, like, hiring someone I know to come over to, like, let them out or walk them or something. Just figuring out those details is mostly what I need to figure out. But I'm sad because I saw, like, this dog on this adoption site that Megan and I kind of follow, and it was so cute, and I was like, oh, I should get him, and then he was adopted, so but I am leaning, I think, towards adopting. I still want it to be a puppy if I can find one, but yeah, and I have like a list of dog names and you guys will get through like when I get a dog and like I reveal its name. I'll talk to you guys about my list of names on my phone.
Okay, someone said, how are you feeling about starting to work full-time?
I think for me, it's been nice to have like my own schedule. I get to sleep in pretty much every day if I want to. But it's also just been boring and like I haven't had anything going on, nothing to do. So I think like in a sense it'll be like, oh, I don't want to like get up to go to work, but it'll be nice to have.
I've also
something
kind of
that I'm
been in the same boat. It's been nice to kind of have as much freedom as we've had since graduating and finishing up clinicals. However, like since studying no longer fills our days and since I've like accepted a job, like I really have nothing that I am doing. Like, yeah, I'll go work out, but that only fills so much of my day. I'm like sleeping in a little bit more than I need to, and like I have also been like waiting to do any like bigger purchases or shopping until like I start my job, just because I've been like, like try and like not spend money right now. So then like it really feels like I can't do anything.
Been trying to do a lot of reading.
been doing a lot of reading, but I'm kind of excited to like, I recognize that I have already put in, you know, time with clinicals. I've already done that. I've been doing that and it was fine. And so I'm hoping now, this is like kind of a weird but small thing that I'm hoping to like feel, I'm just glad to have like ownership, I guess, of like my time and my practice within wherever I'm working. Because like when, this was like such a small thing, but like the fact that we don't have to deal with it anymore is like amazing. So, you know, at your clinical sites, you're doing notes, but then they always have to get signed and approved by like your CI, which is of course, and some CIs are like more or less picky than others, but it was just like at the end of the day I'd have all my notes done, and then it was like, okay, like everyone else is leaving, it is time to go home, because obviously it takes me, you know, a good amount of time as I'm a new student to like type stuff up and get things worded right, and then having to like be done and then sit there for however long to like have them look over and then you adjust whatever else. I'm glad that I can like finish my notes and leave. So, small thing, but like I am very excited about that.
Someone asked what our MPTE score was, and so mine was a 720, which is funny because quite literally that was exactly like what I guessed it would be based off of like all of the practice exams I took. They were kind of around that range, and I left and I was like, I mean, I didn't feel like I did better than that. So
I got a 782. I don't fully know how. Like the range is usually it's 600 passing to 800, but I don't really know. Like,
yeah, I don't know how it breaks down point-wise with each question.
All right, work-life balance tips. I'm in my final rotation as an SPTE and struggle with this. For me personally, I mean, we can share general tips. I did find like my work-life balance was much better during my acute rotation compared to my 2 outpatients, because like when I was doing outpatient, I felt like I really like, you kind of gotta like have a plan for the next day for your patients. So like being someone who like is still fairly new and like doesn't have a whole lot of clinical experience, like once you're in the outpatient setting for a while, like you kind of like, you know what you like to do with patients for different things. You could probably just go into work that day and like you'll have things in mind. But I was like, you know, I didn't want them doing the same thing every day. I didn't want my CI to think I was just copying their preset routine every day.
No one talks about that. Like the kind of like in the back of your mind, you're like, is my CI gonna think I'm just like copying them every day? Like I need to come up with something new.
And like, so I didn't want my CI to think I was just copying what they'd been doing. Like they probably want to see something fresh, even though like I don't really know how much my CI cares what I was doing or not. But so like the day before my like patients started seeing the next day, I'd be like, you know, usually I'd get it done earlier if I could, but like sometimes it was like I was coming home after finishing the day and I was like, okay, now I have to think about the patients I'm doing tomorrow. What is this patient doing? What is this patient doing? And kind of coming up with a plan for like, you know, up to 12 patients if that's what I had the next day. So for outpatient, for me personally, I was just like, ugh, I am not enjoying this.
Getting into more specific tips, hopefully, I think that it's helpful to know everything you want to accomplish throughout the week. So like obviously you have your clinical rotation or work, whatever that is, kind of set in stone with those hours. And then on top of that, Megan and I would probably think, okay, we want to get this many workouts in during the week. And then like if you have any other events or like small things you have to do, like if you have to grocery shop one day or if you have to meet up with someone like on this day, like, or do this errand or something, like figuring out what those are and then trying to time block or like space those out appropriately. Figuring out, are you a morning person? Are you like a late night person? Would you want to like work out in the morning versus like working out in the afternoon? just troubleshooting those things.
Or working out at home versus like actually going somewhere, just depending on how much time you want to dedicate to stuff. Something else too is like depending on your situation, which Sierra can maybe speak a little bit to, but like you're not always around people you know or family or friends depending on where you're at for your clinical rotation. So like if you're alone, that makes it even harder to feel like you have stuff you can go do. And Sierra lived alone for 9 weeks.
During that rotation, I'm not gonna lie, there was not much for me to do. I would go out to like a movie theater and see a movie by myself a couple times. I would work out on my own, obviously, but then I just felt like I was in my unit that I was staying at, which is fine. Like I would, you know, do stuff there. I was still studying quite a bit at that point for the MPTE, but I guess I would go to the Barnes & Noble also too. So
like find little things that just kind of add a little spark to your day.
Someone asked, what types of cases do you enjoy treating most? And like what interests us the most when we're treating patients? I love working with people like on balance, for me specifically, because there's so many different facets of balance, whether it's like vision, vestibular, proprioception stuff, like with how your feet are feeling the ground, and just like identifying like what deficits they have, and then if you want to like try and build up those deficits or like work on compensations. I just think it's a lot of fun.
I also like working with balance. I also really just like working with older adults. So like if it's general deconditioning, like I love those patients so much because you can basically do anything with them, and in my experience like most of them are just like very sweet and I like working with them. So like general strengthening, balance, like I'll do an ortho. You know what I don't like? My least favorite thing to treat is the neck. I do not like treating the neck.
I don't like the neck either. There is stuff you can do with the neck, but just like a lot of times it's chronic pain, and so these people like just, it's a hard thing to treat.
But like I'll do just about any other like ortho thing and it's fine, but
I like the shoulder when I was doing that, because like the shoulder, it's tricky because there's like a lot going on, but I feel like that also gives you a lot of opportunity. And I also like there's a lot of like PNF, like neuro control and like coordination you can do with the shoulder too that I think is
I've seen my fair share of total knees, so I feel pretty comfortable treating those at this point.
I know my way around the knee. Well, it looks like we've answered most of the questions that you guys had, so if you guys enjoyed this video, if you did, make sure you give a thumbs up.
Also, make sure you go check out our podcast channel called According To. We have it listed on our banner. We're trying to get that 2,000 subscribers, so if you'd please go be nice and subscribe, that would be
We would
amazing.
appreciate it. Otherwise, we will see you guys in post next. Bye!
Bye.